Hey everybody, Andy from Tennis Euphoria, bringing you my review of the Babolat Pure Drive 2025. This video will focus on the 300 gram 100 square inch version. The 98 review will be out next week, so subscribe to the channel if you want to see that. I think they warrant individual videos because they are quite different and both of the updates have got a fair bit to talk about. This is a big update in the tennis world. The Pure Drive is a bestseller. It obviously has a rich history over 30 years of offering players at all levels easy access to power, a generous sweet spot, and good levels of spin. So it's popular to make tennis easy and very enjoyable, and arguably it can enhance players at all levels games. Mine for testing was on spec, but it had a very low swing weight at 307. And in terms of strings, I went with RPM Hurricane. Now I've hit Hurricane in many iterations of the Pure Drive, so it gives me a good basis to see how this 2025 compares. I've also sort of put my arm out there for all of you, thank me later. Did Hurricane, full bed of poly in a stiff Pure Drive, hurt my arm over 2 weeks of adopting this frame as my racket. The other reason I went with Hurricane is I think if players like me are going to look at using a Pure Drive, then you need a string that has good control aspects. Hurricane, in my opinion, isn't softer than RPM Blast, so it's not a decision that I made from a comfort point of view, but I do really rate the control that you get from RPM Hurricane, and it isn't a particularly powerful string, so I think it can match with a powerful frame quite well. In terms of the updates on the 2025, specs remain the same and the DNA of the Pure Drive remains the same. What we do have though is NF2 Tech 2.0, which is a new version of Babolat's natural flax fibers. We have seen them in the layups of the Aeros, and that did change those Aeros, so it's interesting to see if this introduction has changed the Pure Drive in this 2025 edition. So the first thing to report is that the Pure Drive still delivers you all of the characteristics that you would expect. It's fantastic on defense, as I tried to show you in those first few clips earlier on. If you're scrabbling around and just need to get something on the ball, then it gives you great energy return. If you're able to get yourself back into an attacking position, then you can also hit out with great power with the Pure Drive. I think that the power is probably the same as previous iterations. I didn't notice any difference compared to the 2019 or the 2021 or the anniversary edition. We have the Wimbledon white edition of the previous here, and power levels are, equally the same, I would say. Let's talk a bit about that swing weight. The advanced players watching will be very concerned at that 307 swing weight. I was too. I was fully expecting to need to weight this frame up to be anyway effective with it. I was hugely surprised at how much stability I was getting out of this frame at 307 swing weight. I actually didn't feel the need to add any weight and take that swing weight up. I almost can't believe that I'm saying that. I tend to play with 325 to 330 swing weight, and anything less I tend to notice a lack of plow and stability. I think this must have awesome twist weight. Even at volleys at net, I wasn't noticing any issues, and I did play some club match doubles with the frame. So the other thing to note, perhaps because of that light swing weight, the frame's exceptionally maneuverable, very, very fast through the air. For me, it felt faster through the air than previous editions, but I think the word of caution would be that this could be a one-off with this frame that is potentially a little bit under spec. It has led me to be quite curious as to what an over spec or on spec in swing weight would be like, perhaps even more powerful. You get that same level of power on serve, easy ground strokes with regards to this Pure Drive, but there is one real big difference with this 2025 edition, and that does come, I think, from those natural flax fibers. So specs, according to Babolat, is still an RA of a 70 plus or minus 3. I was interested to note that Tennis Warehouse on their testing took a 66 stiffness rating, and that is something that certainly I think you feel. It doesn't feel like a 70 RA anymore. And for players, for me, that do like a little bit of dwell time, I felt much more connected to this 2025 version than I have any other Pure Drive, to be honest. It actually does change how effectively and how much I want to play with this Pure Drive, because I would typically not feel the ball so well with Pure Drives with that really crisp, sort of ultimately powerful response, and I would abbreviate my strokes, and I'd really struggle to try and play an all-court game. With this 2025 version, however, I think the feel is quite different, and I was able to play how I wanted to play. And it starts to make you think, right, well, in that case, with all of those added benefits of the power and the easy access to defense, you start to wonder why you're not using a frame like the Pure Drive. I think the other thing that is significant with these flax fibers is that Babolat probably needed to make that move. Wilson, in their Ultra, in the last iteration, the V4, with the addition of 45, really changed the feel and improved the comfort. And I think Dunlop as well, with their FX500 and that Sonic Core technology, also have a relatively comfortable but high stiffness power racket in their lineups. So Babolat needed to answer that trend, and I think they've done that here. I felt that the frame was much more comfortable. I've used it for 2 weeks, restrung twice, and have used it in match play in doubles, and I've had no issues with my arm. I was strung pretty low, started at 52, went to 48, and then settled at 50 pounds. But happy to report that I think that this is a much more comfortable Pure Drive. So there are less concerns, certainly for me, about recommending it to players if they have any sort of concerns about their arm. Hurricane, I think, works superbly in this frame. I was getting really decent control, and where I would sometimes struggle with Pure Drives around putting away balls or finding depth control, I didn't have any issues with this 2025. I could play confidently and felt like I could swing out. So it's quite a significant update for me. I think that the big thing about this is that you will start to have a wider range of players hitting the Pure Drive and enjoying all of those Babolat Pure Drive benefits that I sometimes talk about: more power, more depth, easy access to spin. They'll be better on defense, and the downsides around those comfort potential issues and feeling the ball are dissipated. So I think it's a brilliant update that's going to appeal to more players. The 98 will be out next week, and I've got the E-Zone 98 under review as well. So subscribe to the channel if you want to see those. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.